So I just take, in this case, a pruner and just scratch about the last 3/4 or inch of it. So scarify it 3 or 4 times. Probably can't see it. Some people peel off. See if I can do that. Some people will do this. Some people will do that. Some people won't do anything. So I'm doing kind of a middle of the road, and I've seen others do it, and that's just scratch it just a little bit. Okay, do each one of those, scratching it, scarifying it. You can do it that way, or you can just scratch it. Or you can do it not at all. Some say it really doesn't matter. So today I'm rooting fig cuttings, and I made the cuttings yesterday, and they look something similar to that. These are all of these except I think one are what's called a tip cutting. That's the very growing tip of the plant. I didn't, you could cut it right there and it would root. I mean, it would sprout from one of these sides. But I went ahead and did all of these. I did a bunch of heavy pruning on my fig trees, so I had a lot of tip cutting. So this is what I did. Let me show you how the first way I did it, and then the second way is the way I normally do it. I experimented the first time with the first method, and the second method is what I always use, and I'll show you both right now. From Amazon, I bought what are called U-line bags. I think they're 16 inches or 14 inches long, but it's probably a 2-inch in diameter bag. And I saw somebody rooting figs like this, decided to give it a try, so I bought a few from him. Bought a few bags off Amazon and decided to try. So let me show you how this method goes. Now I've already got these done, so I'll just tell you what I did and not necessarily show you, but it's no big deal. Take the U-line bag, put about an inch or so, inch or two of soil potting mix, loose potting mix in it. And then after you've used Dip and Grow, rooting hormone, then you'll push it in there and then fill it up the rest of the way till you got about 3 or 4 inches of the cutting sticking out. Come in here and poke holes in it with a toothpick to give it plenty of air, and then fold it over and either staple it or tape it, because you're creating a kind of a mini greenhouse up in here for the top of the cutting. Come in here and put a rubber band here to, again, kind of hold all that moisture down in there, even though you've got the toothpick holes in it. And then create so it'll be tied like this. Let me just go ahead and tie it. So I don't have any rubber bands, but I do have some of these. It's kind of like a bread tie, and I'll just tie that around there. Cut off enough to make your tie. And also, on the cutting, in a paint pen, a white paint pen, I painted a C, that is for Celeste. The other variety is brown turkey. These are Celeste. So I've got a C painted on them so I don't make a mistake. I'll come in here, fold that over, and again, either tape it or staple it. I've got a little staple gun, I can do that. And so create a mini greenhouse right up in here for the little plant. Punch holes in it with a toothpick, in my case with a nail. I'm out in the shop, don't have any toothpicks. So here's my collection. Let me close the tops, make that greenhouse, and that's it. Now let me show you the way that I normally do cuttings. I've done grape cuttings, kiwi, muscadine, blackberries, a little bit of everything, a way that is much more simple than this. But this one may work better. I don't know. That's why we're doing an experiment, and we'll see. But let me show you the other way that I do this. So these are brown turkey figs, and I'm going to propagate these different than I did the other ones. I'm going to just put them in a rooting hormone. This is Dip and Grow, and a little discolored because it's pretty old, several years old. I imagine it's still got its punch. A lot of people say figs are so easy you don't have to use any growth hormone, but I've got some, so I'm using it. In there for about 5 seconds, and then I'll just push it down in the pot. And this is just regular potting mix. It's top potting mix I always use for putting up plants, potting up plants, or transplanting, anything like that. And I just put it down in there. Moist potting mix. And I want to make sure that several of those nodes being these little bumps right here, I want to make sure several of those nodes are down in the mix, because that's where it's going to root from. And yes, roots are going to be intertwined, and it's really not going to make a hill of beans because they're easy to separate. About 5 seconds each, or a little more. I usually give it a little bit more. And I'm placing them, trying to get them all in there so they're pretty close together. You get the idea. Rinse and repeat. So here's the final thing I'm going to do, and that's put them on a heat mat, a seedling heat mat. This is what I use to germinate seeds, vegetable seeds and such. And I'm going to be using it for this. Got to close up those ends, hadn't done that yet. And I've got a probe on it down in the, pretty deep in these pots. And we'll try to get it to about 78. I think it's set on 78. Right now it's at 50. I just pulled it out of one of the storage buildings outside, and it was rolled up, and it still wants to be rolled up because it's still cold. But anyway, put it on the heat mat. I could, if I didn't want to close these tops up and make a greenhouse out of this, I could probably stretch some plastic over the top and keep the humidity in. You don't want those tops, those tips, to dry out. This part that's above the ground, above the soil, above the potting mix, you do not want that to dry out. So that's why a mini greenhouse is good. So I'll go in the house and get some tape those up, and then just check. You can feel how heavy they are, whether or not they need water. Right now they're pretty heavy because they're full of water. Not full of water, but I mean I've got some water in it, and when I punch holes, they are. If I squeeze it, they're leaking out a little bit. So, but anyway, I'll do that. And then check them from time to time to make sure that they aren't too dried out. So I'll do that. These, I'll need to spritz these. Just spray them, the tops of them, because I don't want them to dry out. It's winter time. They're not going to dry out like they would in the summer. But still, it wouldn't hurt for me to put a piece of plastic over the top of them. I might just do that. Go get me some saran wrap and put on top of these. Cover the tops of them. Try to keep that moisture in. And also feel of these and see how heavy they are. That'll tell me whether or not they need more water. But that's how I'm doing it. New way, old way. We'll see what works best. Okay? All right. That's it. We are gone.